Here's the Phoenix Plus model. As you can see in this model, the only significant difference in what appearance right off the top to begin with is the matte titanium housing, because on the Oros you usually see an all silver or all gold or rose gold housing. But when you come around and you look a little closer at the front, what you see now is 4 thermocouples. A thermocouple here and a thermocouple there, which goes into the control panel, and then these 2 thermocouples here, which go behind the roaster, and you can hook it up however you want, and they go to the fidget, which you can put wherever you'd like. We've chosen to put the fidget in nearly the same spot that the built-in data logger is on the Oro, and then as you can see, we run our excuse the messy shot, but we run our USB plug into our Mac, where we will start recording a roast. We're going to do a roast with the Phoenix Plus, which, as you're going to see, is pretty much identical to roasting with the Phoenix Oro. It's a M4 system in that it has 4 dedicated motors, one for the exhaust fan, one for the cooling tray, one for the mixing arms, and one for the drum. So you start it up the same way you start up all of our Oros. The circuit breaker on the back, flipped on, turns on our cooling fan inside of the electric room. It lights up our control panel. What I'm going to do right now is walk over here to the computer, which I have attached to the fidget, which is attached to the 2 extra thermocouples that we put in, since we're running the Plus with the inexpensive temperature controls that don't allow data logging. We've added 2 extra thermocouples, one for BT and one for ET. So the reading should be pretty close. Could be a degree or 2 off, but that's not to worry. So the next step that we do is we hit the operation button, which turns on the fan and the drum. And of course the Plus models don't come with drum speed control. That's pretty much the only thing they don't come with, because they got your double wall stainless steel drum and a cast iron frame. You've got your manual dial damper for precise airflow control. You got your custom burner system. So we kick on the operation button. We make sure our gas is turned on. If we were using natural gas, that the line would be open. In this case, we're using propane. So as you can see, our gas gauge is a 6 kPa gas gauge versus a 2.5, which you would find in the natural gas models. Keep in mind, you're never going to go over 3 kPa on an LPG or propane model, and generally speaking between 0 and 1.75, which is 7 water column on a natural gas model. So the next thing we do is we hit the start button. In about 5 seconds you'll hear the igniter kicking in, and then we make sure we got some gas on there, make sure we got plenty of airflow. In this case 2 on our meter there are 20%. When that light stays on, it indicates, and the gas gauge is steady, it indicates that our flame is on. Of course, you can always look in the viewing window to see that. So we're going to let that preheat. I'm checking it with the software for the ET and BT, which we see a nice climb on that. So we're going to let it preheat for somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, generally on a gas model. I like to bring it up to about 400 degrees for a moment or so, and then I cut it off and then charge my beans at around 350. I'm going to be roasting today some Ethiopian Yirgacheffe, 2 pounds of it. So I'm going to drop it into the cooling tray, into the hopper, and then I'm going to wait for our temperature to rise appropriately. And when we get it to the temperature we want, we'll go ahead and charge the beans. So we've had the beans charged for about a minute and 18 seconds. They drop down, I'll have to double check, somewhere around 190. Yeah, right around 190 was the where they bottomed out. And now they're climbing at a pretty fast pace. And I don't think it's too fast. I'm at about 10% air. I may bump that up to about 15%. I'm at about 2.5 kPa. And because this is the first roast in this roaster, as it started off cool, we see the bottom temperature lower than what we would on subsequent roasts. But I also see the need to keep the kPa up a little higher than what I probably would do otherwise. And I'm noticing on the air temperature on the computer that it's slightly off from, actually it's somewhat off compared to what it is on the control panel. And I think the reason for that, I noticed one of the thermocouples was bent and it could have been damaged. So we'll check that out later and adjust it if needed. But so far it's looking pretty good. We're at about 3 minutes, 268 degrees kPa, just right around 2.5. I'm using the standard LPG regulator that comes with this. This is an LPG model. Keep in mind, if it was natural gas, we'd probably be somewhere down around 1, maybe even under 1 kPa. But I'm using the standard 11-column water column LPG regulator, so that it won't allow me to go past about 2.75, which is okay, because you really never want to go past 3 kPa on a Phoenix model. So we're going to let this develop, and as you see, we're at about a little less than 4 minutes, and we're at about 297 degrees on the bean temperature. So I think my climb's a little faster than what I want. So I'm going to cut it down to about 2 kPa, and I'm going to leave the airflow. Actually, I'm going to bump the airflow up a little bit more, maybe 1 3/4, and we'll follow that and see how that goes. So I probably should have turned the camera on a little sooner to tell you a little more, but we're getting ready to go into first crack now. The roasting temperature is about 380. We're at about 7 minutes and 4 seconds. To backtrack, had I kept it on and described to you, the first several minutes of the roast is the drying phase, where the coffee turns from that dullish green into a yellow. And then as you get up to about 335 degrees, you start to go in the mallard or browning phase. Obviously, we're well into that right now. Whoops, sorry. I don't know if you can see very well. I got a temporary exhaust on that isn't exhausting fully out of the building. But here we are at 7 minutes 40 seconds. Roasting temperature is 392 degrees. This is a Ethiopian Yirgacheffe. With that said, we don't like to take our Ethiopian Yirgacheffe too dark, so I'm going to cut back the kPa now to about 1.5, and we're at 8 minutes 5 seconds, 397 degrees, and I want to go up to about probably about 410 to 415 degrees. So I'm up in the airflow. I upped it a little bit earlier to about 2. Now it's at about 2.5. So we're right at 402 degrees, 8 minutes, 27 seconds. The air temperature is right at 393 degrees. Don't know how well you can see the bean. It's still a pretty light. I think I am going to take it to the 415 degree mark. As it seems like this will be about a 9 minute and 15, maybe 9 minute and 30 second roast. Yeah, it's about where I want it. And so here we are at 4:15, 9 minutes, 5 seconds. I'm kicking off the gas. I'm turning on the cooling tray, and I'm getting ready to drop the beans into the cooling tray. So it's 9 minutes, 19 seconds, 415 degrees, and I got a nice medium roast, which is right about where I like to take my Ethiopian coffees, Ethiopian Yirgacheffe, and that was, as I mentioned, about 9 minutes, 15 seconds. So a nice looking medium full city roast there. Always remember when you're done, and of course I'm not done roasting, but if I were done roasting for the day, always remember to fully cool your machine off and open up the airflow 100%. The way you would do that is leave the drum door open the hopper, open up the manual dial damper, make sure your gas is off, and obviously the airflow is running on the exhaust till it cools down pretty much to ambient temperature. If you fail to do that, over time you will damage the machine, including the electronics and other components. So never just shut off the machine at the end of a roast. Of course, now I want to be roasting again, so I'm close my door, I'm closing my airflow down to about 1 again. I'm going to let it bring itself up to about 350 degrees, and since there's a lot of heat, a lot of mass heat in the drum, in a double wall drum, it'll bring itself up probably to 350 without me having to give it any gas at all. So I'm going to get my next load ready.